Hi, I'm Jay Woodwolf, and welcome to Season 4 of Cauldron Brew. I am here with my good co host, Julie Rockwell. I can't hear you, Julie.
Sorry, I had it another muted.
Today we are talking about um, real Wicca versus New Age Wicca. And we have a guest on our show today. It's Oswyn from Pagan Coffee Talk. Hello, Oswyn. Thank you for joining
Hello.
us.
Thanks for having me. It's good to see you again.
So, how would you like to kick this off, Julie? You said you had questions. So, let's go ahead and go into the questions first.
Yeah, just go right into the question. um, with because I'm not Wiccan. I know basically hardly anything about it, just what I've heard you talk about and what Jay's talked about.
Right.
And I know it started with Raymond Buckley. Is that
Buckland.
It, it
Buckland?
did not start
Okay.
with Raymond Buckland. It started with Gerald Gardner.
Jared Gardner.
Raymond
Okay.
Buckland brought it to the United States, whereas
Right.
Gerald Gardner started the whole Wiccan movement.
Okay, yeah.
Right.
Okay, back in the 40s, right?
Yes.
Okay, when I was, doing a crash course on it, it said that when he, created it, um, it was like, had like a whole bunch of different aspects from different cultures brought into it. There was Buddhism, there was the Tantric, there was, stuff from, um, the one guy that started the satanic stuff.
Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, Aleister Crowley. With him, there was some of his stuff into it. And is that like, is Wicca like a mix, like a melting pot of different cultures, or I don't know, because I've always just going through different videos, I've seen that, and it was to where, because I was just curious, is it like I don't know how the best word to phrase it.
Well, it, to my knowledge, yes, it is. We've borrowed from other cultures and other traditions, and that's where we've talked about it on the podcast. With cultural appropriation, other people have talked about it, but the way we see it now, I don't know how they saw it originally. I don't know how Gerald Gardner saw it in the beginning.
Right.
Um, but the way we see it now is energy,
Right.
and it comes from everywhere, and so therefore, as witches, we should be able to utilize that energy no matter where it comes from.
Okay.
So therefore, yeah, we've borrowed ideas to find things that work.
Right. Okay. Well, no, I was just curious because when I was reading that, I didn't know, because I thought, from like this one person I was watching said, it was, from traditional British witchcraft. And
Hmm.
then other people were saying, well, a little bit of it is, then he went ahead and took from other cultures and other places, other cultures, and sort of blended it together and created religion. Now, with that, this other video, I know it was posted on our Discord, and I've seen it before with, I don't know who they are. It was like a guy and a lady, an older man and a lady
The
on a talk
Farrars.
show. Okay. They were talking about how, they believe in God, and they bring part of, the Christian religion into it. Is that like part of Wicca too, or is it like their own thing, or because I know nothing. So that's why I figured that's why I'm asking these questions, because I don't, online I know you have to be careful with what resources is real and what
Hmm.
is just thrown together.
Well, I know from my research into traditional Wicca was that originally it was British traditional witchcraft. Jill Gardner decided to throw other things in there. But later
Okay.
on, I think her name was Dorian Valente. She actually had to separate a lot of that garbage that Gerald Gardner incorporated.
Okay.
And so a lot of like the Ferrars, Buckland, um, they use a lot of Dorian Valente stuff after she picked it apart, you know, because he wanted to incorporate Aleister Crowley's stuff. He wanted to incorporate, um, there was another one. Oh, the OTO. Um, he wanted to incorporate a lot of that stuff with the British traditional witchcraft.
Right.
And Dorian Valente actually had to go behind him and clean all that up.
Okay.
Yeah, and as far as the Christianity part goes, um, I suppose there are certain rituals that have been adopted or adapted
Okay.
from the Christian religion.
Right.
Um, if you've ever been to a Catholic church,
Oh yeah. I grew up with that.
and yeah, okay, so if you've ever been to a Catholic church and you've been to a traditional circle, you will see some things that might look a little familiar to you.
Okay. Yeah, see, I've
And
never been
there's,
to a tradition. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, and there's really no telling who did what first. There's a lot of speculation that the church stole a lot of things from witchcraft, and that's possible. But and by the same token, we've quote unquote stolen things from them too. So
I don't know how when they stole it first, you're just taking it back.
right, so
Yeah, see, I've never been to a traditional circle, like with my practices, it's all, solitaire and
hmm.
everything. But I did experience through a acquaintance, I'm just going to say that me and Jay both know of, when I started getting to know this group, she would, perform a circle. And so I wanted to learn about ritual and a circle and all that. And it was so, in a way, confusing, because I had to talk with Jay afterwards. I'm like, is this what it is? Because he's like, no. And I'm just like so confused as to, I'm like, this was boring. I was like looking around at, because we were out in my backyard. So I was looking at my trees, my animals, you know, and they were doing this stuff. I don't know. Jay can explain it better what the two of them were doing, you know, in the center. Like they were calling the god and goddess for stuff, and
Hmm.
the with the
The
drink and
circle
the,
casting, the calling the quarters, but she would go from you know cast the circle to calling the quarters to bringing the Lord and the Lady into the circle, and then she would state the purpose, do cakes and L, and close out.
that's why every time, and I'm just like
Okay,
was so confused. I'm like, this is it. This is
yeah, in my opinion, there should be a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
Well,
we do all of those things in our circles, but after the purpose, we sort of, I don't know. This is where we deviate from some other groups. There are groups who do it more like a Christian service, where you
right.
have the people standing at the altar and they're doing their welcome, they're doing their blessings, and then they, you know, do this and do that, and then circle's gone.
Okay.
Um, pretty much after we do all of that and we state the purpose of the ritual and we do our little greeting and whatever, we try to have like an audience participation type thing so that it's driving home the purpose of the particular ritual. So, like,
Okay.
to give you an instance, for one Beltane ritual, we did coffee and donuts to hype everybody up on sugar and caffeine, and then we stomped on the ground to wake up the earth.
Right.
So, but it was driving home the idea that this is a time of rebirth. This is a time of, um, you know, the earth waking up.
Right.
And so that's what we did. So yeah, we try to
Okay.
have we try to have a little something to make it entertaining, to make it um all right. Bye, Julie.
There she is again.
Welcome back. Can't hear you. But so anyway, we try to make it so that everybody's involved at some point.
Yeah, you definitely need to, like, after you state the purpose, especially if you have already called in deity and they already know what it is that you're calling them for. They
Right.
already know. But they want to see what you can do. It's the doing aspect. That's like going over to somebody's house and be like, "Oh, you showed up. Congratulations." Well, thank you for coming, and then close the
Yeah.
door on them.
Bye. Nope.
Nope, can't hear you.
It's like an old Verizon commercial. Can you hear me now?
Wow.
Gotta love technology. So do you have anything, Jay?
Um, but yeah, doing the purpose, um, you should be having something that follows statement. You state the purpose and then you do the purpose.
Right.
And you really should have something that's following, doing. Like I remember, like Julie would remember this too. I did it at her house with some friends, and it was a Mabon ritual, and I used an apple, and everybody got two apples. You cut one way, which reveals the pentacle, and then you cut the
Hmm.
other way, which the female genital.
Right.
Um, so one they were able to release to throw it in the fire, and the other one, the other half they kept. So,
Yeah.
so
There
one
there
for
there should be
fertility,
that.
one for banishing. So bring something in, but Maybon is also a time for apples, so I included the apple.
Right. I mean, it is a harvest festival, so
Do you remember that, Julie? That she's having technical difficulties.
which is a shame because she's the one with all the questions.
Right. While she figures it out, we can actually talk about real Wicca versus New Age Wicca.
Sure.
And my definition of what real Wicca is, or traditional Wicca, is any tradition that can trace its lineage, its roots back to Gerald Gardner, the Gardnerian tradition, the Alexandrian tradition,
Hmm.
where and they have established rules, principles, guidelines, and a whole established tradition. Whereas New Age Wicca, in my eyes, is there's no rules to this. We can do what we want. We can call it whatever the hell we want to call it.
The biggest thing for me when I started on this path and when Lord Knight started on this path we used to go to pagan gatherings, and we would meet all kinds of people. We met a lot of solitaire people who this was really their only interaction with the pagan community, aside from the stores, the local stores. The other people we met were the traditionalists. These were the coven people. Those folks seemed to know. They just seemed to know. Um, the solitary people, not that they didn't know what they were doing, a lot of them did. But as the years have gone by, it's become more of if you're if you're not part of a tradition, if you're not part of a coven, then you're at a disadvantage. And I don't mean that against anybody. I really don't. But it's just the way I see it. You're at a disadvantage because you don't have that guidance. You don't have people to turn to who can teach you these things. So you have to kind of do it on your own and resort to forums and, you know, chat rooms and the internet and all this other stuff. And you're not always getting reliable information.
Yeah. I mean, even that can be said for, even groups or covens established within
Oh,
some
absolutely.
established, their leadership could be horrible.
Yes.
And they could change things on a whim, and somebody could be like, well, according to, Gerald Gardner, according to Dorian Valente,
Mm,
according to the Ferrars, or whoever, from these traditional um, figureheads, let's
right.
say. And, well, they said this. And then, you could get somebody in, as a third degree and be like, well, I'm going to do it my way.
Oh, sure. And it does. It happens. It happens. Um, hopefully you've got enough common sense if you get involved in a situation like that to head the other way. But
Right. My
yeah,
response would be,
it's
okay, fuck your way.
right. So I mean, yeah, it does. It happens, and you have to be careful no matter what path you're on. If you're following your own
Right.
solitary path, or if you're choosing to be with a group, um, there are plenty of eclectic groups that are out there, and they have their place. They are great for people who don't want a traditional coven,
Right.
but still want that camaraderie and still have people that they can talk to.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, you're back.
But now I can't hear you guys.
Oh no.
Well, most.
Isn't that great?
No volume.
I hear you.
No volume. Yeah, we hear you.
Does she hear us?
Apparently not.
um,
I hate this shit.
check your speaker settings. Let me text her. She's having some really difficult time tonight.
Apparently, yes.
Tried that. It's still staying 0. Oh, wait. Is it coming back?
We hear you.
Won't let me do the speakers.
Uh, Tell her she has to check that before she comes into the studio. So she'll have to leave the studio to change her speakers.
Again. And check.
It's weird.
speaker.
It's kicked up my, what is it called again? My CPU. with this. It's like spiked it way up to almost 70. Never a dull moment with me.
No, apparently not.
Okay. I'm clicking out. I'll see if I vote coming back.
Okay.
Can you hear us? No.
No, she can't hear us.
So let's continue on. But yeah, definitely the eclectic groups are nice for those that don't want a traditional coven. And a traditional coven is led by a high priest and a high priestess.
Right.
And they have initiations, they have an established mystery tradition, they um, have their own internal hierarchy, I guess.
Yes, we do. Yeah, and as far as the eclectic groups go, they don't really have that kind of structure. Um,
No.
but again, it has its place, and they are great groups. We've met a lot of great eclectic groups throughout the years, and we've done some work with some of them, and they're great people. They do serve a good purpose.
Yeah.
So,
It's to help give people guidance where
mhm,
otherwise they would not have it.
right,
Because some of us don't have the option of joining an established coven.
right.
You
You
know, whether
don't,
it be there's none in your area, you might have to drive out of state for one, you might have to drive through several counties to get to one. You know,
right.
in this day and age, like um, if I hadn't bought my car during COVID, I would have had one.
Right.
So, you know, even though I work a full time job and I'm putting in hours, and um, a lot of people can't even afford to put food on their table after they pay rent and bills, and let alone I had a car payment on top of it and car insurance,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
people don't have
The
the option of having a vehicle to where they can drive.
right. The other big difference between the eclectic groups and the traditional groups is uh, you don't get the type of learning that you do with a traditional group. And again, that's not a bad thing. Um,
No.
Different people learn different ways. If you're part of an eclectic group, well, if you're solitary, I encourage you. If you don't want a traditional coven, that's fine. Go find an eclectic group that you feel comfortable with, and at least you'll have that camaraderie. You'll have some people that you can bounce your ideas off of, and y'all can sit and talk
Somebody
witchy
else
stuff.
might have the answer, and if somebody's looking for, like, okay, it's an eclectic group, and if somebody wants to learn about the Norse, and there's already somebody in there that's had been studying the Norse ways, they're
Right,
able to point them to some reliable sources.
right. Now, as far as your question about real Wicca versus the other Wicca, um, that's more New Age. As far as I see it, it's more New Age. They deal a lot with Reiki, crystals, um, that type of stuff, and that's fine. Again, that has its place, but I don't see that as Wicca.
No, I don't either. Because if you read more of the traditional authors like Dorian Valente, the Ferrars, even Buckland, um,
Hmm.
there's really no talk of um, crystals. Now, I've seen it where they would talk about a form of divination, as in a crystal ball,
Right,
or placing a crystal at the top of your wand or staff, but no real crystal work as these New Agers are doing.
right. There seems to be a very large focus on crystals and rocks and gemstones, whatever else you want to call them, with the modern Wicca.
Yes. And I try to stay away from that myself. It's not my thing. If you guys want to, be that happy-go-lucky rock power, hey, go for it.
Right.
But
I
it's
mean,
just
if it
not
works
me.
for you, it works for you. But
Yeah. And Julie's back.
Can you hear me?
I hear
yes,
you.
can you hear us?
Okay. I had to get on my phone to do this.
Apparently, your
I
laptop don't like you today.
No, it doesn't. I don't get it. But you can see me, hear me, everything?
Yep,
Yes.
crystal clear.
Okay. Sorry about that. It's just for some reason the CPU it was going sky high.
That's okay. Yeah, it does that sometimes. Sometimes a program will just spike it.
Yeah, because I have the fans, the cooling fans underneath it and everything, and just wasn't doing it. So I'm sorry. I'm here. Don't need to
It's okay.
recap. Where are we now?
So, as you were trying to work out your technical difficulties, we were continuing the show and just talking about various aspects of what is traditional Wicca and what is modern Wicca. And
Right.
modern Wicca, the New Age modern movement of Wicca, is these people are they're ripping apart, the traditional Wicca, and they're calling it what they want. They're cherry picking everything, and they're just calling, oh, this is Wicca. No, sorry, that's not Wicca. That's your creation.
Well, yeah. Well, that's just it, and that's what that puts a lot of. I know for me, it puts until I really started not diving in, but until I started really talking with Jay about what Wicca really was. All the other people that I've ever met was basically the New Age Wicca. So that put a really bad taste in my mouth about what it was.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no. I'm like, oh, I want no part of you people. I'm like, stay away if that's how it is.
Right.
In that. So it's to where they give a really bad name to the traditional Wiccans.
Well, and I'll even go as far as to say, what Jay said is correct, but somebody else could turn around and say, well, isn't that what Wicca did in the beginning anyway? Yes, in some ways that is what Gerald Gardner did. He picked and pulled and put together a religion. It's basically what he did.
Right.
The only difference is that this has been established for decades now. And that would be like, I don't know, that would be like going in and changing portions of Christianity and still calling it Christianity, but you've ripped apart the core belief.
Right.
It's not Christianity anymore. You
right.
can
Yeah.
with any religion.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like saying, oh, I don't believe in Christ, but I'm a Christian. Well,
Right.
isn't that the whole point of Christianity is to believe in Christ?
Right.
So yeah, so you go and you start breaking apart the core of whatever that religion is. It's no longer that religion, and you shouldn't be calling it that. You should come up with another name for it. That's perfectly acceptable.
Right. If they want to, if they say, hey,
Well,
I'm just a pagan, and this is how I practice, and this is what I do, and
well, that's more
I think-
acceptable than
Yeah.
than saying I'm Wiccan, but yet as Jay said before when me and him would talk, they wouldn't know any of the founding people of it. They wouldn't have none of the beliefs of it or what it stood for. They just would do what they want. It's just like how they're trying to take like our last time we were talking, they're trying to take some of the was it the draconian? Yeah, they were trying to take some of that. they're trying to take some of the Norse. It's like, no, you can't do that and say you're Wiccan Norse or you're Wiccan Draconian. You know, when you have these, you know, these things, or not things, you have these, like, the Draconian is one thing, but the Norse is actually been around since the beginning of time. You can't take something that's been established and just put your name to it and say, this is what it is now. It just, that rubs me the wrong way, because you're just taking other people's beliefs and culture and putting your twist to it and claiming it as that now.
Right.
And to me,
Right.
that you can't, to me, you shouldn't be doing that. You should have enough respect for that culture or that path that's been there for, you know, millennia, basically.
Right.
You know, way back since, you know, way, you know, before, you know, BC, or however far back you want to go.
Mhm.
You know, is to where that's the one thing that I don't like about with the New Age ones, is they just take what they want and don't care.
And just slap a name to it. Why not?
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, you know, and honestly, you know, when I started on my pagan path, I was brought up in a Southern Baptist church, and I was very active in the church. Everybody in the church knew who I was. You know, it was one of those things. And when I left the church, I struggled for a long time because I have a deep spiritual side to me, and I felt like I was losing my connection.
Right.
And you know, and then I discovered paganism. And even when I started on this path, I had a hard time letting loose of some of my Christian ideals.
Oh yeah,
I
it
still,
is hard.
and I still hold some of those, but I never really called myself a Christian witch,
God, and there's people
because
that do.
there are people that do. Yeah, I mean,
Well, yeah, but they work more with
I'm
the
gonna
angels and that aspect of it.
right. So you know, I'm gonna say it's. I'm just gonna say you can call yourself what you want.
Right.
That's none of my business. Um, but you know, and honestly, find what works for you. If you can manage to meld two things together from two different sides, and it worked for you, you go right ahead. But you know, I have a hard time when you start calling it, you know, like Christian Norse or Christian witch or Christian. That'd be like saying I'm a
Right.
Christian Muslim.
Yeah,
There are some,
exactly.
you know, there are some things that do mesh, but there's a lot of things that don't.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, if you
So
want to start your own tradition and you want to build your own tradition, that is cool. Go for it. If
absolutely,
you
yeah,
got
go for it.
the
Well, yeah, but
mentality to design and create your own tradition and the way you do things, I say go for it. But here's the thing. But if you're going to call it Wicca, make sure you have the 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 foundation of Wicca to it.
Absolutely, yes.
Right.
but see, then they're not really creating anything new because they're still using Wicca. You know, they're
Well,
staying with that. You know, if you want to create a new religion or a new tradition, come up with something unique, something that's not already been there. Don't cherry pick, because to me that is, you know, it's one thing to meld some things together, but don't say that it's something new then.
Right.
You know, because it's not. Because, like, just say you take Egyptian, you take Norse, you know, bits and pieces, and you take something from the Greek, and then you mesh it together, and then, you know, say, well, you know, it's a new tradition. How can it be new when it's already been established? You're just taking bits and pieces that you want. To me, that's, you know, that's not, you know, you want to create something new, you know, do something new, you know, that hasn't already been established, that isn't already there, you know, because, you know, But
Now
that's
here's
just
the
me.
I get
question:
what you
how
I
can
get
you?
what you're saying.
But my thought process is going: how can you create something new? Is like, let's say you're using the Greek deities. You work with the Greek deities. Well, there's an established tradition with the Greek deities. It's the Hellenistic religion,
Mhm.
and so I'm just
Well,
saying,
yeah,
how can
but see,
you?
that's what I mean. It's to where you can't create something new. It's to where without, because you can't even cherry picking. You slap a name to it, it'd be like, well, it's a new religion when it's not. That's where
When
that's
I think of traditions, okay, like let's take Wicca. Wicca is there are several. A tradition is like a denomination of a religion.
Right.
You
So
understand that?
Wicca,
Wicca
think of
would
it
be
this
like
way,
saying
Julie,
Christianity, and whereas tradition would be like saying Baptist or Methodist or Catholic or
or Lutheran or Presbyterian.
yeah,
right. Well, yeah, that stuff, yeah. But I meant But what saying though is, you get the New Agers cherry picking and then saying this is new.
right.
That's what I'm saying is you can't call it new. It's well, you know how they do that.
Yeah.
This is our new thing. It's like, no, it's not new. You're just splicing things together. And because a lot of it, I will admit, a lot of them, actually all of them that I've ever come across online with multiple things that they talk about, it's and I know it's not the traditional Wiccans, but it's the new age ones that will take it and be like, like just say uh the Norse Wiccan, or I'm just using that. It's to where then they're claiming it as that's their thing, and then just destroying what actual Norse is. And it's to where their egos are so inflated that they did this. And if you try to correct them, be like, no, that's not, you just picked what you wanted. That's not actual Norse. And then, it's like, God forbid you actually speak out. You're lambasted with so many vile things,
Right.
with saying, no,
Yeah.
you didn't create it, that's been there, give the respect where it's owed if you're going to use part of it. That's my thing.
Now I don't see anything wrong with like if you incorporate, um, let's say, let's take uh, okay, Irish folklore. And since a lot of things are missing from the practice, we don't know how they practiced in ancient times. We don't know.
Mhm.
Right.
We don't even know how the Druids practiced. Now, if you wanted to take all the mythology from Ireland and you wanted to take, stuff that you can find from Ireland and call it Irish Wicca, but you're doing it in a Wiccan structure to offset the pieces that are missing from history. I don't
Mhm.
see anything wrong with that because you're still incorporating all of that which of that culture, but you're putting
Right.
it into a structure, another structure that already exists to help fill in the gaps. You could say, yeah, we don't know what was there. We threw this in to help bring about a more structure to it
Right. Well,
when
see,
there's still
but
pieces.
missing. Right. But see, that's what I
That,
mean. You're given the respect where it's owed, that it
yeah,
is from the Irish culture. You're still respecting it and everything, but you're putting in something to help blend it. I have no problem as long as you give the respect where it's owed
yeah,
to that culture that you're wanting to represent in your way.
yeah,
Well, and here's the thing. Ultimately, what it boils down to is, Julie, you were saying it's not really new. It's not this. It's not that. It's not really new. It's not. Chances are someone somewhere has already done it.
Well, yeah,
Whatever you're picking to make your own, chances are somebody somewhere has already done it. So no, may not be a new idea.
Right. Well, yeah, I
Period.
just meant these people are claiming it online as
Oh
it's
yeah,
their idea. It's something new. And that's what irks me. It's like, don't claim it as it's something new when it's not. Just be
right.
like, it's, your thing, your path, your way. I'm okay with that then.
Right.
But
Right.
that's
I
also, but
mean,
give the respect owed, where it's due to whatever culture, path, that you want to incorporate into your life. I'm good with that,
right.
but just don't claim it as it's yours, that
Well,
it's
no.
something new that you created, which that's where I meant that it's not new.
Right.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. In that sense, somebody somewhere has already done it. So,
Right. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
And if you're
Yeah.
gonna do,
Don't be
if you're
spouting
gonna,
online.
right, if you're gonna do something like that, state the sources. Hey,
Yeah.
this part is, traditional Wicca, but we use and incorporate a lot of the Irish mythology, the Irish stories,
Right. Well, yeah,
the
that's what I
Irish
mean.
deities,
Yeah,
which
give
is
credit
fine.
where it's due.
Yeah,
Yeah, give credit
right.
where it's due to where it originated from. So you're not, taking from one place and not crediting it that, because then that's where you get a lot of people being like, no, this is our culture, this is our thing.
right.
You just can't take it and just be, do what you want to it without, you know, getting a
It's
lot
like,
of,
right.
people
It's like
irritated.
taking copyrighted information.
Exactly.
In
That's
a
just
lot of
it,
ways, yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's where my issue is with the new age ones to where, and they don't want to, give time to actually listen to what you're saying. They're so quick to just, you're gatekeeping it then. And I hate that word.
Yeah.
Or you're
Yeah.
this, you're that. And it's to where they just will go at you with no reason to.
Well,
There's.
when
I
well, I
was
was
just gonna
gonna.
say there's some cosmetic things that you can change, like the candle colors that you use in ritual in traditional Wicca. It's red, green, blue, and yellow. Whereas,
Okay.
like I had changed them to black, white, red, and gray. And where I got that is, I think they're Irish colors for in Irish works. I think I know it's some form of Celtic.
Right. But yeah, but see, you do a
It's
lot of druid work though.
Yes, I also do druid work. So
Yeah.
cosmetic stuff, it's like, okay, at what point does you make all these changes to your house? At what point does it become a new style house or a different style house? Yeah, it's going to be the same house if you just paint the walls.
The
This
only
is
time it
strictly
comes to a new
cosmetic.
house is it right. The only way it becomes a new house is if you strip it bare and you start over.
Yeah,
Right.
you change the foundation.
Yeah. And then once the foundation's gone, then you know you lost what you were trying to accomplish.
Yep.
That's what I would think.
I mean, you could pretty up your house any way you want, but the moment you start ripping that foundation apart, the house is going to collapse.
Right.
Right.
And that's same with any belief. Is when you start ripping into that foundation, it's going to collapse.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's just where
So,
I stand on it.
any other questions you have, Julie? Now that
No,
you're back
those
with us.
yeah, no, those were the only two main ones that just like as I said, I did a crash course on it, trying to absorb as much as I could in that short time. Just to and those are the only two that really stuck out from it. Um, you know, with that part, with just doing the basic overall, of the
Okay.
traditional.
All right.
So
I think we pretty well covered the topic for tonight. The different traditional Wicca versus New Age. I think we pretty
right.
well covered it.
Oh yeah,
Sounds
with
good to
me in and out.
Yeah.
I swear, I just might start doing it on my phone now.
You might have to.
You
I might. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, thank you for joining us, Oswyn. It's been a pleasure, and maybe in the future you can find a topic that we're going to be talking about, and you're more than welcome to join in whenever you want.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
We have a lot of fun with you here.
Yeah, we do. Plus it's nice having, another set of an opinion to, besides just, me or Jay, and then with your, take on things and, with a different background than, what in
Right.
a different path than what we have. It's always nice. Plus, you're a joy to, talk with.
Oh, well, thank you.
All right.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
All right.
What, Jay?
Well, let's end. Huh?
Nothing.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this topic. We're gonna say have a good night.
Yeah.
And be sure to check out our Spotify called Sitting Around the Cauldron, where me and Julie just randomly will strike up a conversation and start recording it and throw it up on Spotify and all the other audio sites. And thank you for tuning in. Thank you guys for coming. Night.
Bye.
Night. Bye.